The delayed gland suddenly differentiated. A wave of unbearable heat erupted from within me, and right in front of everyone, my fiancé. Michael Brown humiliated me. "You're a male beta," he said coldly. "You can't handle an alpha's pheromones." But what he didn't know was that, after he strode away without a backward glance, the man who appeared beside me was Raymond Anderson. He was the so-called sickly and low-profile youngest son of the Anderson family, an irrelevant figure in the eyes of the Brown family. But he was also the true power behind Anderson Group, once forced into bankruptcy by the Browns, his mother driven to death. Now he had hidden his name, bided his time, and returned as a predator. A month later, I hadn't called or texted Michael Brown once. And finally, Michael couldn't take it. He came knocking at my door, only to be overwhelmed by a thick wave of pheromones, coughing violently as he staggered back in shock. The man who was always calm and composed completely lost it and shouted hoarsely, "Tom Gray, are you with him just to get back at me?" Raymond Anderson pulled me into his arms, his voice lazy but his eyes sharp as blades. "Don't be so loud. You're scaring my lover." 1 month earlier, I was at an upscale private club with Michael and his friends, drinking and playing games. Suddenly I felt something wrong with my body. Heat crept up my skin, burning and restless. I couldn't sit still. My instincts made me lean toward Michael. "Michael, I'm so hot, I feel awful." I collapsed into his chest, my voice trembling and soft as water, cheek rubbing lightly against his shirt. He frowned and pulled away with a cold expression, yanking me by the collar like I was dirty. Tears welled in my eyes as I looked up at him. "Did someone drug me? I had some champagne earlier, and then my body started acting weird." His impatience flared as he raised his voice. "Tom Gray, are you a child? You seriously don't even have the most basic safety awareness?" I bit down my discomfort and swallowed the pain in my chest. My voice was low, almost pleading. Can we go home first? You're my fiancé." I tried to act soft, hoping he'd show a little warmth. But there was none, just distance and scrutiny. "Tom, it's been 5 years since our engagement. You still haven't differentiated. You're destined to be a mediocre beta. I'm an A, grade alpha. I need an omega to soothe me during rut. You're a male beta. Your body simply can't take it." His words were knives. Each one sliced away a piece of my fantasy. "So, you're just going to abandon me?" I choked. He turned his face away, voice flat and heartless. "I can help you, but I can't be responsible for you. My wife will be an omega." So that's all I was. Someone he could help. He'd sleep with me, but never marry me. "You want to break off the engagement?" "Yes. And don't cling to me again." He sneered. "Throwing yourself at someone is just pathetic." I clenched my fist, trying to force back my tears. But they fell anyway. He didn't even look back. He got up and walked off with an omega at his side, leaving me alone under the spotlight, like a joke thrown away. Whispers began to stir in the club. Such a simp. Gave everything, and ended up with nothing. A male beta daring to dream of an 8, grade alpha. What a toad lusting after a swan. The air felt like knives against my skin. I stood frozen, trembling, my limbs icy cold. Just when I thought I'd collapse, a jacket was gently draped over my shoulders. I looked up and saw a man everyone always overlooked, lounging with lazy indifference. Raymond Anderson. He wasn't part of the Brown family. He was from the Andersons, the mortal enemies of the Browns. Once trampled beneath their feet for over a decade, he had returned as a poised, waiting predator. He pulled me into his arms and sneered. "So what if you're a beta? That arrogant young Master Brown has to put others down to feel like an alpha? Disgusting." Without hesitation, he lifted me into his arms and walked out, right in front of everyone. No one dared stop him. Inside the car, I curled up in the passenger seat, trembling like I was burning alive. Raymond undid his seatbelt and leaned over, brows furrowed. "What's wrong?" Leaning back, my breaths came short. "I think I'm dying." He tore off the suppression patch on the back of my neck. One sniff and his expression changed. You're differentiating." He cursed under his breath. "Tom, I'm calling the hospital now." I clung to him. "No, don't let Michael know. He already said he doesn't want me." He paused for a long second. "You've really decided to stop liking him?" "Yeah, I don't want to like him anymore." My voice trembled, but the resolve in it was clear. He looked at me, gaze unreadable. I murmured, "It hurts so much. Can you help me?" He didn't answer immediately. His eyes searched mine for a long moment before he said quietly, "I'm just a beta." I blinked, startled, but there was no time to question it. I reached out and held onto his shoulder. "They say betas are smaller, so it won't hurt as much." His Adam's apple bobbed. Then he leaned in, teeth brushing against my glands. And in a swirl of tangled pheromones, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was in a clean, unfamiliar bedroom. A fresh robe was wrapped around me. The blanket was tucked in tightly, and the air was faintly scented with dark chocolate. Raymond Anderson sat on a sofa with a laptop in his lap. When he heard me stir, he looked up and said gently, "Awake." I nodded, my throat dry. I didn't do anything stupid last night, did I? He closed his laptop, walked over, and crouched by the bed gazing at me. "You didn't," he said softly. "I did." I stared at him, unsure what to say. "You were an accident that wandered into my hunting ground. But somehow, you're the only one I want to keep." His voice was quiet. No teasing. No games. My heart pounded. I looked away. "You're not a beta, are you?" He smiled but neither confirmed nor denied it. His hand gently brushed my flushed cheek. "If I said I was an alpha, would you regret it?" I shook my head. "No, I just don't want to be left behind again." He pulled me into a warm embrace. "You won't be, Tom Gray. I'll make those who left you pay the price." After a night of fever and heat, my body was still adjusting to the sudden differentiation. The lingering effects of my heat came in waves. Raymond cleaned up breakfast and coaxed me out of bed. "If you don't eat soon, you'll pass out from low blood sugar." He sat by the bed, feeding me a spoonful of porridge. With every bite, he gently wiped the corners of my mouth with his thumb. His tenderness didn't match someone who commanded a business empire. Embarrassed, I murmured, "I can feed myself." He raised an eyebrow. "You think this is a spa? Come and go as you please." I glared at him, but he only laughed harder. As I ate, I asked, "Why did you help me yesterday?" Raymond Anderson paused, setting the bowl down. "I just don't like seeing anyone treated like trash. Especially not you." He leaned in slightly, his voice carrying a faint chill. "Michael Brown, that kind of man. He prides himself on being noble, but he's rotten to the core." I didn't respond. After so many years, I had learned silence in the face of his indifference. I had long grown used to licking my own wounds alone. "And one more thing," Raymond added softly. "Your pheromone scent, too sweet. Makes me dizzy just breathing it in." My cheeks flushed, and I turned my face away. "You're shameless." But he wasn't offended. Instead, he let out a low laugh. "I can be cold, blooded to the world. But to you, I just want to spoil you." The air fell into a soft, lingering silence. After a while, I asked quietly, "Then what should I do?" "Come with me," he said. "If you want revenge, I'll help you." "But I don't want revenge anymore." I shook my head lightly. "I just want to live a peaceful life." Raymond looked at me, his eyes unreadable. "That works too. I'll help you clean up the mess. You break off the engagement. Let me be the one to pick you up." I froze, a little shaken. After the heat ended, my emotions were still a bit raw. Raymond reached out, pulling me into his arms. His voice lowered into a gentle whisper. "Don't be afraid, Tom Gray. From now on, you won't fight alone." The day my heat ended, Raymond sent me home. As if on cue, a message from Michael Brown arrived. Just one casual line. "Are you free tonight? Let's have dinner." I stared at the screen, remembering his cold face all these years. I let out a small, scornful laugh. Raymond was on the balcony taking a call. He glanced at me and said flatly, "If you don't want to go, then don't." I turned to him. "But I want to end this, officially." He paused, then nodded. "I'll go with you." We arrived at the designated spot, an upscale Western restaurant. Michael Brown, as always, wore a sharp tailored suit. His expression was cool, confident. "I thought you'd come crawling to me first. Surprising that you held out this long," he said. "There's nothing between us anymore," I replied calmly as I took my seat. "You sure about that?" Michael frowned. "What you want is a Tom Gray who's become an Omega. Not me." His expression darkened. He was about to respond when Raymond appeared behind me. "Sorry," he said nonchalantly, sitting beside me and picking up the menu. "If my partner's having dinner, how could I not show up?" Michael's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped coldly. "You're with him now." I didn't answer. I simply placed the annulment agreement on the table. "My relationship with you ends today," I said gently, but firmly. Raymond poured me a glass of water, smiling lazily. "You heard him, President Brown." Michael hadn't expected Raymond to be here. His expression slipped. He stared at us, his gaze sharp as a knife. He abruptly stood, eyes cold as he spat out, "Tom, you think he wants you? Oh, I see. You're both betas. What a match." He laughed bitterly. "Fine, but if you stay with him, don't expect the Brown family to protect yours anymore." And with that, he stormed off. But this time, I wasn't afraid. He couldn't dictate my life anymore. Besides, my family had gained little from this engagement over the years. If I wasn't worthy of him, why act like I owed him anything? When my next heat came, it was Raymond who stayed by my side again. The room still lingered with the mingled scent of dark chocolate and bamboo. I pulled a loose shirt from the wardrobe, trying to ignore the lingering ache in my body. Quietly, I tiptoed toward the door. Raymond stood by the floor, ceiling window, speaking into the phone, his voice low and steady. Keep a close watch on the Brown family. Notify me if the stock fluctuates. Proceed with the acquisition as planned. He hung up and turned, his gaze still cool. It landed on me just as I took a shaky step and collapsed to the floor. Raymond rushed over, scooped me up with ease, and let out a soft chuckle. Can't even walk straight, and you're trying to sneak off. I shook my head hurriedly. I just needed some air. He smiled. Then I'll carry you to the balcony. I blinked, my face heating up. My ears burned with embarrassment. He looked down at me, his tone suddenly teasing. Wearing that this morning, were you hinting I didn't work hard enough last night? I dove under the blanket in a panic. You're making things up. Raymond laughed aloud at my flushed face. He leaned down, whispering into my ear, you wore me out last night. Shouldn't you be held accountable? I glared. I wore you out. You. He pulled me into his arms, voice husky with amusement. Fine. You win. So, how do you want me to make it up to you? Fuming, I pushed at him. You should be compensating me, not the other way around. He nodded, grinning. All right, then I'll give myself to you. I froze, caught off guard. But before I could protest, his gaze darkened. What? Not enough compensation for you? I quickly changed my tune. Fine, I'll reluctantly accept. My heat had just ended, but the dependence on his pheromones still lingered heavily. He seemed to know it. He stayed close by during the day, and never left my side at night. Then came another call from Michael Brown. The first time he reached out since that disastrous dinner. Saturday night, are you free? I want to take you to dinner. Raymond was in the kitchen, humming a soft tune as he stirred soup. But the moment he heard me say Michael Brown, he paused, then stepped out, arms crossed, leaning against the doorway. The weight of his gaze made me speak instinctively. I'm free, but I'm not going. The corners of his lips curled. Satisfied, he turned back to the kitchen. On the phone, Michael's tone dropped a degree. Tom Gray, enough is enough. I'm giving you an out. Don't push it. Dinner isn't out for me. I said with a light laugh. Then I spoke slowly. Michael Brown, you hated me, were annoyed by me, but you never had the courage to break things off. Afraid of public gossip, right? Well, let me make it easy for you. From now on, I'll never chase you again. As I hung up, it felt like a heavy shackle had fallen off my chest. When I returned to the table, Raymond had already served the soup. Steam curled from the bowl, warm and comforting. He didn't ask anything, just passed me the bowl. Here, drink it. You need to replenish your strength. I lifted the bowl. The moment the rich, fragrant flavor touched my tongue, my eyes suddenly stung with heat. Finally, someone who didn't ask about my past, only chose to stay by my side, quietly and steadily. After returning to the Gray family estate, the first thing I did was inform my father of my decision to dissolve the engagement with Michael Brown. He remained silent for a long time before finally saying, with an indifferent expression, do as you wish. He didn't seem surprised. In fact, he looked relieved. After all, in a gender society, male betas have an extremely low fertility rate, and I had never differentiated. The engagement between the Gray and Brown families had long become nothing more than an empty formality. A week after the annulment, I was at a club negotiating a partnership when I happened to run into Michael Brown in the corridor. He had just come out of a business gathering, clearly drunk. His steps were unsteady, his gaze unfocused. When he saw me, he paused for a moment, then suddenly rushed over. I instinctively stepped back. He lunged, trying to hug me. I sidestepped, and he stumbled, arms catching only air. Once, he only had to open his arms and I'd throw myself into them, happily begging for affection. Now, I didn't even want to get close. He stood frozen, head bowed low, voice hoarse with despair. Tom Gray, I drank too much tonight. My head hurts, my stomach too. His tone was eerily reminiscent of how I once stayed up night after night tending to him during his susceptibility periods. But I was no longer the person who'd feel soft-hearted at that. Michael Brown, we're no longer engaged. You shouldn't be saying these things to me. His head snapped up, shock written all over his face. Engaged? I never agreed to end our engagement. I let out a cold laugh, my eyes void of warmth. You refuse to marry me, yet won't let me leave either. What do you take me for, a backup lover you can summon at will? His expression darkened. Without warning, he grabbed my wrist. I struggled but couldn't break free. My brow furrowed. Let go, or I'll call someone. Michael's voice was low and angry. Call someone? Back when you were all over me, you didn't call it harassment. His words sent a chill straight to my heart. All the affection I had shown him over the past 5 years, he had seen it as throwing myself at him. Michael Brown, I once loved you so much. And this is what my love means to you. Something cheap. His grip faltered for a moment, but he didn't let go. Just as I was about to resist, I saw his gaze land on the back of my neck, and his expression shifted violently. I froze. I'd forgotten to put on a new suppression patch. He gritted his teeth. Aren't you a beta? Then why are you wearing a pheromone blocker? I stomped hard on his foot and pulled my arm back while he winced in pain. What's it to you? Michael's face darkened. Suddenly, he released a surge of pheromones toward me. As an A, grade alpha, the pressure was overwhelming, a tidal wave crashing down on me. My body trembled under the weight. My own pheromones, triggered by instinct, began to spill out uncontrollably. He noticed instantly. You've differentiated. You're an Omega. I sneered, just about to reply when he stepped in again, drawing a deep breath near my neck. His voice trembled, as if he'd uncovered something unthinkable. There's another alpha sent on you. You've been marked. I stared him down, my voice calm, but unwavering. Yes, you let another alpha mark you. He roared. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to withstand the oppressive pheromones. Michael Brown, that night at the banquet, I told you I wasn't feeling well. What did you do? You didn't believe me, and you humiliated me in front of everyone. But he, Raymond Anderson, he took me away. He saved me. You thought I was lying? My lips curled coldly. You thought that just because I was a beta, I didn't even deserve a shred of your trust. Michael's eyes twisted with rage. His pheromones grew more violent, a toxic fog nearly smothering the entire hallway. Then Raymond Anderson appeared. He walked to my side, calm and unhurried, placing a protective arm around my shoulder. His tone was lazy, as always, but laced with warning. If you don't get it together, tomorrow's headlines will read, Brown family heir loses control. Injures civilian in public. Michael glared at us, his chest heaving with fury. He reached out again, trying to pull me away. But Raymond was faster. He slipped an arm around my waist and stared coldly at him. Why don't you ask him if he wants to go with you? Then he looked down at me, his eyes clear. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. I shook my head without hesitation. Michael Brown, we're done. I'll never go with you again. Raymond smiled faintly, patting my back. You heard him. Just then, Michael's secretary arrived and whispered urgently in his ear. Michael's face turned uglier by the second. He glared at Raymond one last time, eyes full of realization, and stormed off behind his assistant. Raymond watched him leave with a casual smile. Someone touched what's mine. Of course, I'll make them pay. Then he scooped me into his arms. Come on, I'll take you home. I collapsed into his embrace, drained like a balloon that had finally deflated. He released his pheromones, gently calming mine. The dark chocolate scent surrounded me, washing over my nerves like warm waves. My body, my breath, finally settled. He placed me in the car, buckled me in carefully, then murmured, It's okay now. No one can hurt you again. My throat tightened. I tried to hold back the tears, but still, I sobbed quietly against his shoulder. He didn't ask anything, just let me cry. That night, Raymond Anderson left a new, faint mark on my neck. He wanted to erase every trace Michael Brown had left on me, even if it was just the lingering scent of pheromones. The scent of dark chocolate enveloped me completely. Raymond moved slowly, gently, but there was a fierce sense of possession in every motion. I didn't resist. I even reached for his shoulders willingly. I had come to understand one thing clearly from Michael Brown. I would never receive love. Raymond's kisses fell on my brow, my hair, like scattered fragments of tenderness, stitching me back together piece by piece. You'll never be discarded again, he whispered. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, and the breeze stirred their corners gently. Raymond stood in his study, robe loosely wrapped around him. The floor, too, ceiling window behind him remained open. On the screen, a video meeting was in full swing with the senior executives of Blue Sky Group. Several of them couldn't help but glance at the visible mark on his neck. The soft red imprint near his gland was unmistakable. Someone even messaged him privately, Boss, your camera's still on. Raymond glanced at the screen, unbothered. Relax. It's from my partner. Don't be scared. Silence. A beat later, someone cooperated smoothly. The boss's partner has excellent taste. Raymond smirked, saying nothing but his lips curved with quiet satisfaction. After the video conference ended, Raymond Anderson stayed behind with his assistant, Leo. For a private briefing on the Brown family situation. Push where it hurts. Suppress where it matters. No need to hold back. There was not a shred of warmth in his tone. After all, they had just threatened someone he cared about. Of course, he wouldn't let it slide. I was still curled up in bed, yawning while scrolling through my phone. The trending list was blowing up. Late night shakeup at Brown family headquarters. Brown family and Anderson Group rumored to be in secret conflict. Mysterious newcomer Blue Sky stuns the business world. I looked at the headlines and suddenly felt that karma hadn't come too late after all. Raymond knocked on the door and came in, settling beside me on the bed. He tucked in the blanket around me as a habit. "You're awake? Hungry?" I looked at him and asked quietly, "Why were you so angry last night?" He let out a soft sigh. "Because I hate seeing you bullied, especially by someone like Michael Brown, who puts himself on a pedestal." He leaned down and kissed my forehead, his voice barely a whisper. "I won't let him touch a single strand of your hair again." A few days later, a new scandal involving Michael Brown exploded across the internet. Paparazzi caught him entering a private hospital with his Omega secretary. Rumors pointed to a gland cleansing surgery. In the leaked video, the Omega was crying desperately, clinging to Michael's hand and pleading, "President Brown, I'm carrying your child. If you do the surgery now, the baby might not survive." But Michael coldly yanked his hand away, his voice emotionless, then aborted. "You planned this pregnancy from the start." The short 10-second video sent shockwaves across every major platform. Suddenly, labels like cold, blooded alpha, manipulative, and irresponsible stuck to Michael Brown like tar. Soon after, the skeletons in the Brown family's closet were unearthed. Michael's father, John Brown, had once been accused of abusing his power to coerce subordinates. His mother, Mrs. Brown, not only turned a blind eye but actively suppressed the victim, forcing them into anonymity for years. That old case was dug up and exploded into public outrage. The entire Brown family was now under fire. As I scrolled through the endless storm of comments, I felt my chest tighten. All those years of silent endurance. I had never once considered using the internet to fight back. And yet now there was no satisfaction. Raymond entered the room and saw the heaviness in my expression. His tone softened. "You don't need to carry the weight of their sins." He walked over, took the phone from my hand, and with a single swipe, muted all Brown family-related topics. "From now on, you don't have to see anything about them again. But that Omega, she's pitiful too," I murmured. "That's why she ended up on the news," Raymond said quietly, "and not in the trash. Anyone who hurt you, I'll deal with them. And anyone who shouldn't have been hurt, I'll protect them too." I froze, looking at the seriousness in his eyes. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. He seemed to understand what I was thinking. A gentle smile tugged at his lips. "Don't waste your empathy on those who don't deserve it, Tom Gray. You've always been kind enough. Now it's time to learn how to protect yourself too." He brushed my hair. "Just remember, on the day the Brown family falls, I'll be right there holding your hand." That night, the lights in the Brown family's corporate tower stayed on until dawn. Michael Brown, like a man possessed, smashed an entire cabinet of crystal glasses and wine bottles in his office. Red wine spilled across the floor, mixing with the violent scent of his out-of-control pheromones. Sickly sweet and full of rage. His secretary stood at the door, trembling, not daring to take a step inside. Amid Michael's furious roars, all security footage from the office was cut. The next day, the Brown family's official account posted an emergency public statement, trying to douse the flames. But the damage was done. Instead of calming the storm, it only fanned the flames. Netizens flooded the comments with sharper accusations and deeper questions. John Brown convened a closed-door meeting that lasted 2 hours. The tension was suffocating, and the man behind it all stood calmly inside the Anderson Group's conference room, watching the stock charts fluctuate in real time. Brown family filed a revised interim proposal last night in an attempt to stabilize things. Assistant Leo reported from behind him. "No rush," Raymond said coolly, tapping his finger on the table. "Let them struggle a little longer." He stood before the tall glass windows, his posture sharp and unwavering. The morning sun rose behind him, casting his silhouette in brilliant gold. He looked like a blade just about to be unsheathed. Meanwhile, the Gray family also received several feelers from the Brown family. My father, Eric Gray, furrowed his brows and slammed the proposed partnership contract onto the desk. "They still think we'll work with them for old time's sake." I stood by his side and spoke softly. "Dad, maybe it's time we show them we're not anyone's vassal anymore." Eric looked at me, a flicker of pride flashing in his eyes. "You've changed, Tom Gray." I didn't deny it. I only clenched my fist and said, "I just don't want to keep retreating anymore." That night, Raymond took me to a quiet, private restaurant. He didn't explain why, just led me into a private room with an easy, relaxed smile. Soon after, a few board members and lawyers from the Anderson family arrived. To my surprise, my father also walked in. I blinked, confused. What is this? Raymond took my hand and looked around with confidence. I'd like to formally introduce you all to the person I plan to spend my life with. For a moment, there was silence, then sudden realization dawned on everyone. Eric Gray stared at him for a long time before slowly nodding. Then I'll be watching to see if you're worthy of that promise. I turned to Raymond, and he smiled as he held my hand. I'll use everything I have to protect him. The next day, Anderson Group released an internal memo, officially naming me as family of the future partner. Attached to the notice was a photo from the dinner. In it, Raymond was holding my hand, his expression calm and gentle. The image went viral immediately, setting off shockwaves across the financial and social media worlds. The ruthless, mysterious head of the Anderson family had just made public his engagement to a male Omega. And not just any Omega, but the ex-fiancé of the Brown family heir. Speculation exploded. Some were supportive, others skeptical. Some even dug up the old engagement stories between me and Michael Brown, trying to stir up public backlash. Raymond paid it no mind. He said simply, "We don't need everyone's approval. We just need to believe in each other." That evening, we moved into the Anderson family's private estate, a secluded villa nestled halfway up the mountain, surrounded by trees and silence. Raymond told me he bought the house when he was 18, but had never lived in it. "I was waiting for someone who deserved to be brought home," he said softly. I looked at him, my heart warm and aching. "You've dated before, haven't you?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "I tried, but I never let anyone near this place." And by this place, he didn't just mean the house. He meant his world, his boundaries, his future. That evening, I was in the study, searching for a project file. Raymond Anderson was on a call in the living room. The report came from one of his trusted overseas aides. The Brown family's Southeast Asian subsidiary had begun showing signs of a financial crisis. Capital outflows were suspected. "Keep tracking them," Raymond said, his voice low and calm. "This time, I don't want them to just fall in the domestic market. I want the rot to run all the way down to the roots." Standing at the top of the stairs, I listened to his steady tone as he gave out his tactical commands. And in that moment, it struck me, this man wasn't just gentle, composed, and safe. He was a true hunter. He gave me his tenderness, but never once laid down his sharpness. Raymond ended the call and looked up, seeing me there. He smiled and stretched out a hand toward me. "Come down. I'll make you some rose honey tea." And in that quiet moment, I thought, if he is the eye of the storm, then I'm willing to be the light that never goes out beside him. The Brown family's collapse came faster than anyone expected. In just half a month, 3 separate scandals broke out: senior executives embezzling funds, workplace bullying, and project fraud. Investors pulled out, partnerships terminated, their stock price plummeted. It was as if a net had been spread across the city long ago, waiting for them to step straight into it. And I knew whose hand had woven that net. Raymond Anderson's. I accompanied Raymond to an international economic forum. We ran into some familiar faces, along with a few old acquaintances who had once mocked me. Well, isn't this the Brown family's former bride-to-be? Looks like someone traded up. Heard you're an Omega? Wouldn't have guessed it. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, Raymond slowly reached for my hand. His tone was relaxed, but his words carried enough weight to suffocate. "Who my partner is none of your damn business." Their faces darkened. Silence fell quickly. Raymond turned to me and said softly, "You never need to bow your head. Not in front of anyone. And certainly not to explain yourself." After the forum, we left together. Inside the elevator, I leaned against him and suddenly asked, "Will you always be by my side?" He took my hand gently. "I'll always stand behind you. Just turn around, and I'll be right there." I didn't speak. I only leaned into him a little more. In that moment, I understood what it meant to be steadfast, not loud declarations, not flowery promises, but the kind of presence that remains when the world goes dark and never once takes a step back. A week later, the Brown family officially announced its bankruptcy and reorganization. Michael Brown was permanently removed from the executive board. His mother issued a public statement. "Michael does not represent the will of the Brown family." Once untouchable, the Brown empire crumbled like dry leaves in autumn. The day the news broke, I was with Raymond at a quiet cafe in the valley below the mountain. He glanced down at the headline on his phone and said gently, "It's over." I felt a sudden sting in my nose. Not because they deserved sympathy, but because the monster I once feared had finally lost the power to hurt me. I had walked out of the past, and the man standing beside me, He had never once let go of my hand. Spring sunlight warmed the bamboo forest on the mountain, and fresh shoots poked through the soil. Raymond said he wanted to take me to his mother's favorite place before she passed. It was a traditional tea garden tucked halfway up the mountain, quiet and cool. We walked together, feet pressing gently on cobblestone paths, surrounded by bird song and the whisper of wind through bamboo. He stopped under an old osmanthus tree and took out a weathered wooden box. Inside was a yellowed letter. "My mother left this for me before she died," he said softly. "She said one day I'd meet someone who'd make me let go of hatred." I looked at him in surprise. "Have you let go?" He met my gaze, calm and steady. "I haven't forgiven the Brown family, but I no longer need hatred to carry me forward. I have something far more precious now." He reached out and interlocked his fingers with mine. On the drive home, we passed the villa compound where our engagement party had once been held. Once dazzling with light and laughter, now empty and forgotten. I looked at the building where my heart had been shattered and felt nothing. Raymond slowed the car. "Do you want to stop and take a look?" I shook my head and smiled. "No need. The past isn't worth looking back on." He leaned in and kissed my temple. "I like who you are now." Months later, we held a quiet ceremony at the bamboo villa on the mountain. No guests, no media, only us. He wore a white shirt. His smile was softer than sunlight. "Tom Gray, will you spend the rest of your life with me?" I nodded, smiling through my tears. "I will." In that moment, distant spring thunder rolled. The wind stirred gently. Shadows of bamboo danced across the walls as I stood beside Raymond Anderson, and finally understood. That night, when I was abandoned beneath the banquet lights, I never imagined that the light meant for me would come from someone else entirely. And now, I would spend my life answering it. His dark chocolate scent would forever be the only home my heart belonged to.